Welcome to HP FanFiction. Support me by subscribing the channel. Also, like and share the video to keep me motivated to make more videos like these. Remus ended up staying for an entire week after that. Harry had won the best birthdays of his 2 lifetimes. Remus gave him the Nimbus 200 prototype he was given by the company, but made him promise to not show the broom around until it came out for sale in September. They were sad that he could only stay 1 week, but he had more business to attend as well as make preparations for his next business trip. This time he was going to France. The night after his uncle Remus left, his father called for him. It seems that he and his mother had something important to discuss. "Take a seat, son." James looked somewhat serious. Did something happen? He wondered if those Death Eaters had decided to make any moves. "No, is nothing like that," his father clarified. Harry sat down next to his mother and she started to talk. "We spent a bit of time talking with Remus during his visit. As you probably already know, after graduating from Hogwarts, your father, his closest friends, and I were invited to join a secret order, tasked with aiding against the threat of Voldemort." Lily finished saying and waited for his reaction. "Yes, the Order of the Phoenix, I know about it," said Harry. "We spoke with Moony about the information you got from Lucius Malfoy." "What?" Harry was stopped before he could say anything about that decision. "Let me finish. We had to change the story a bit, to avoid mentioning you and the way you got that information. As much as I trust my friend, that is not something I'm willing to share with anyone." "James, then, what story did you tell him?" asked Harry. "We told him that, during an investigation on Malfoy's death, I found out about Parkinson's, and that he is the one behind all the Death Eaters' attacks during the last decade, and that they don't have any idea where the real Voldemort is," explained his father. Lily spoke next. "We talked about what to do with this information. Normally, if an aura finds something like this, the next course of action is to present a report to his superior. But since this matter involves important figures from the ministry, we have to be very careful with whom we talk with. Yes, I already told Dad. According to Malfoy, at least half of the Aurora forces are compromised, and I don't think he was exaggerating," Harry said. James frowned, but could not argue with that comment. He hated to admit that many of the men and women he worked with had sold their integrity for a few gold coins. Remus suggested that we talk with Dumbledore. Lily did not beat around the bush. "You told him?" Harry could not believe what he was hearing. "No, hold on. We haven't talked with anyone yet, other than Moony. We wanted to discuss this with you first. We want to hear your opinion first," said James. Harry calmed down. "But you want to get him involved? Why? Thought he will always keep secrets from you and work behind your back. We know you had some problems with him in your past. And if that Dumbledore was here right now, I would slap him silly just for putting you in the same house as my sister. But you can't move the blame to this one. He hasn't done anything to you. It may not be a completely different man, but..." Lily stopped there. "We also had our own differences. At the time I blamed him and his passive methods for Sirius' death. We didn't talk with him for years, and I am still bitter about it. But the truth is that we cannot do this by ourselves. Especially not when I cannot even trust half of my own co-workers. Dumbledore is still one of the most powerful and intelligent wizards I know, and we could really use his help," James said. "That's right. With Dumbledore and the Order of the Phoenix reinstated, it will be much easier to keep track of the Death Eaters' movements and intervene if necessary," added Lily. Harry thought about it for a minute and realized that he didn't have a good argument against theirs. His reason for not wanting to work with the old man came mostly from his bitter feelings of having been manipulated into following his plans, even if his goal was a good one. But he cannot deny them a powerful ally for a reason like that one. He cannot allow his personal feelings to get in the way. "Would you be telling him the same that you told Remus?" Harry asked. "We will have to polish the details. But yes, does this mean that you agree with this plan?" asked Lily. Harry nodded. "As Dad said, it is the most logical step. Just don't let him manipulate you to do something you don't want to do. Dumbledore may not be a bad person, but he only sees the big picture, like a chessboard with pieces on each side, and you can't win a game without sacrificing a few pieces." "I'm glad to hear that," You can enjoy your school year in peace. If something important comes up, we'll tell you about it. James promised. What do you mean by enjoying my school year? I want to help too, said Harry. But what about Hogwarts? Asked Lily. I can skip a few classes if necessary. Harry shrugged. And how do you plan on helping? Most of the work we can do right now is limited to observing and spying as well as some policy maneuvering at the Wizengamot. James asked with a knowing suspicion. You know what I can do, just find me where Parkinson and the others live, and I'll take care of them, Harry said nonchalantly. Harry, Lily shouted. That's what I was afraid of. Harry, you can't go around playing vigilante anymore. We already discussed this. James was furious. Harry, you can't lower yourself to their level. I do not wish to see my son like that. Please, Lily. Harry hated for his mother to look at him like that. They went back and forth for over an hour and in the end, Harry had to make a concession and agree to do things their way for now. What he did not tell me was that he was only willing to do this for as long as the real Voldemort didn't show up. If that were to happen and the threat level rose up, Harry would act in full force no matter what they said or what they thought of him afterward. August 5th. Wow, Mom, look at that. I want it. Holly pointed at the window of a shop. The entire Potter family had come to Diagon Alley for a shopping trip. They had initially planned on coming sooner to buy the school materials for Harry and Lyra, but Molly Weasley had convinced their mother to wait until mid-August and come all together. This also meant they could take the chance to buy something for Holly's birthday, as it was only 4 days away. Can we go inside? Holly insisted. The shop she wanted to enter was filled with all sorts of magical toys. Wait, I want to get my wand first, Lyra cried. Harry gave his sister a passing glance. She was usually mature for her age, but sometimes she could get a bit spoiled when there was something she really wanted, and she had been obsessing with getting her own wand since the start of summer. No, Mum. Holly pouted. Okay, enough of you two, Lily huffed. Before anything we need to go to Gringotts. We are not buying much without money. Also we are meeting the Weasleys there. Hold on. Do we need to go all the way down there again? Harry asked with a hint of worry. He did not enjoy that trip to the guts of Gringotts. James found his reaction amusing. Of course not. We have a trust vault on the upper levels. It gets a refill twice a year. Yes, you three can wait in the lobby. Just promise to behave. Okay? Lily warned. Yes, Mum, both Lyra and Holly answered together. I'm serious, girls. If we come back and you made some kind of mess, there will be no birthday presents for you. She pointed at Holly. And no extra books for you. She pointed at Lyra. Her birthday had been in May, so she could not use that as leverage, but she knew her daughter wanted to get a few extra books for charms and potions. The faces of the two girls became paler. Well, be good, they hurried to say. Lyra then pointed at Harry. Why doesn't he get a warning too? Okay. Lily glanced at her son with an attempt at a stern face. Young man, behave yourself or Nipsey will not be making any more treacle tart for the rest of the year. Whoa, hold on a minute. Harry was not ready to receive a threat like that today. Lentining weapons and creating them was basically his parents' work. There they are. Molly Weasley found the three well-behaved Potter children sitting on a stone bench near the bank entrance. She was being accompanied by her husband Arthur and their children, Percy, the twins, Ron and Ginny. Hello, Miss Weasley, and hello to you all. Harry was the first one to greet them. Arthur smiled. I can finally meet the elusive Potter heir. Nice to meet you, Harry. He then looked at his sisters. Lyra, so lovely to see you again, and Holly, only one visit this summer. Our chocolate reserves are going to spoil at this rate. No. Holly was horrified at the mere thought. Lyra, Ginny hurried to greet her friend. She then made a gasp of surprise. You got earnings, wow. Hee. You like them. Lyra moved her hair away to show them better. Is that gold? Surprisingly enough, it was Ron the one who asked. Harry noticed a mix of greed and envy in his eyes. Does Ron want a pair of earrings too? Oh, now we know what to get you for Christmas. Fred and George joked. Ron's face became bright red with embarrassment. Shut up, he shouted loud enough to earn the attention of the surrounding people. Ron, behave yourself, we are not at home right now, Arthur told him with a stern expression. Mum, Can I get some earnings too? Ginny asked, without much hope. Maybe next year, dear. Her mother gave her the answer she expected. Okay, Ginny muttered. Then I'm going to the vault, then we can go shopping, okay? Arthur said. Molly, as Arthur was leaving, Lily and James walked into the lobby. "Nice. Where do we go first?" asked Lily once they were back on the main street. "Wand," said Lyra. "Toys," Holly shouted and raised her hands up for more emphasis. "Robes should go first. They take a while to be ready, so is more efficient like this." Harry offered his 2 cents. "James, why don't you take Lyra and Ginny to Ollivander's, so they can get their wands? I'll go with Molly and Arthur to buy the books and then we can find the rest together," suggested Lily. "Wait, Lily. We already had a wand for Ginny to use. It was from my aunt. I'm sure it will serve her well." Molly made a complicated expression. "Don't worry about it, Molly. James has been wanting to buy a wand for Ginny, as a thank you gesture for all the times you took care of our daughters. But that was, you don't have to, Lily. New wands are very expensive. Is too much." Molly looked a bit troubled. "We know we don't have to. We just want to do it. Is that okay with you?" Lily knew Molly was very stubborn and didn't like to accept anything for free, but she also knew how important was to have a proper wand chosen by you, so she had to try. Arthur put a hand on his wife's shoulder. "Is okay to accept this, Molly. Let them get Ginny a new wand." Molly glanced at her daughter's hopeful eyes and sighed. "Fine, but we will repay you for this. Somehow." Lily nodded. She knew this was the best she was going to get. "Wait, what about me? I want a new wand too. Why does only Ginny get one?" Ron questioned, much to the horror of his mother. "Because she actually reads the books," said Fred, "and has a much better chance than you to pass her any duties," said George. "They are not wrong, Ron. Maybe if you study harder this year, Mum and Dad will buy you one." Percy tried to help his brother at least. "Study is for idiots. This year I'm joining the Quidditch team." "Right, can I have a new broom instead of a wand then?" asked Ron, completely oblivious to the death stare his mother was giving him. "Well, we tried," Fred shrugged. "But he dug his own grave." George shrugged. "Looks like there is some sort of event going on today," Lily commented when they arrived at Flourish and Blotts. A long line of women reached the entrance door. "Of course, today is the day Gilderoy Lockhart is coming here to sign his books." Molly looked very excited. Lily made a realization face. "Is this why you insisted on coming today?" "Well, yes, I'm a huge fan, you see. I'm sure you'll like him. You wait until you see him," Molly admitted. "I never heard of him. Is he a famous writer?" Lily's novels were mostly from Muggle authors, so she wasn't too familiar with famous wizard writers. "Oh, he is magnificent, and from a rumor I heard, he's going to be teaching at Hogwarts this year," Molly said. "Really? A famous wizard is going to be a teacher?" She turned to look at her son. "Isn't that great, Harry?" He had to make full use of his occlumency to avoid making a strange face. "Does this universe have to punish me by having this man as a teacher again?" He wondered if that could be the case. As they were about to enter, Ron, who was going ahead, almost stumbled with someone else. "Oh, sorry," he quickly said before realizing who he was apologizing to. "Ugh, more redheads." Draco Malfoy made a face of disgust before looking at the rest of the family. "Of course it had to be the Weasleys. Came here to buy your second-hand books?" he sneered. "Draco, be polite." A blonde woman wearing an elegant black dress walked from behind him and started at the Weasleys. "Sorry about this. He is a bit stressed. Don't talk to me like that, and don't apologize to those blood traitors," Draco yelled. "Get lost, Draco. No one cares about you," Ron shouted. "Come on, there is no need to argue here." Lily tried to calm things down between the children. Draco looked at her with a deep frown. "Who's this, another Weasley?" "No." He then saw Harry next to her. "You are Potter Mud." His mother hurried to cover his mouth. "That's enough. We are leaving." Narcissa Malfoy grabbed him by the arm and dragged him away while Draco struggled and yelled at her. Harry looked at Draco back as he was getting away. His spare wand appeared in his left hand, and was about to use it to teach the little brat a little lesson when someone pushed him from behind. "I'm so sorry." he heard a very familiar voice say. Harry turned around and found himself face to face with a young boy with messy black hair, glasses, green eyes, and a scar on his forehead in the shape of a lightning bolt. What? Who? Harry was at a loss for words. As much as the boy who looked like a freshly made clone of his past self. Before either of them could start asking questions, the other boy was grabbed by one of his companions and hurried along. Wait! Harry shouted and tried to follow them. He had to shove some bystanders out of the way, but before he took more than 5 steps, the other boy seemed to have vanished into thin air among the crowd. He hurried to arrive at the place where they disappeared and looked around. The street was filled with people. It was going to be impossible to find anyone if he was even there to begin with. Did I imagine that? But it felt so real. That was definitely me. He had no clue what this meant. How could there be another version of himself here? It made no sense. Harry, he felt someone tugging at his robes. It was his mother. What happened? Why did you run out like that? She asked. I thought I saw someone I knew, he told her. Who? Someone from school? His mother asked. She never heard him talking about any school friends. I was wrong, never mind. He didn't want her to think he was crazy. Even in the dagical world, having visions of past selves cannot be a good sign. Well, let's go then. Everyone is waiting for us. His mother took hold of his hand and hurried him along. When they entered the bookshop, they realized just how filled it was with people wanting to see this famous wizard. They had prepared a podium surrounded by books and one table in the middle. The Weasleys are easy to spot among the audience. He hasn't arrived yet. We got lucky. Molly seemed to be in a jolly mod. Why don't we go find your books in the meantime? Arthur told his children, knowing that his wife was not going to move from there. Let's go get your books too. I also have Laris's list here, suggested Lily. They went through the full list until they finally arrived at the new DADA books. The list was very unusual as it contained several books for each year instead of the usual one. And there was something else that his mother noticed. This is odd, Lily said as she examined the new defense books for him and his sister. What's odd? Harry decided to ask, but he had an idea what she was talking about. These books were written by this Gilderoy Lockhart himself. The new professor is making the parents but his own books for teaching materials. That's so unethical. If only that was the most unethical thing that man has ever done. He wished. These don't even look like school books, is more like a... He is here. People started to yell. Women were screeching and calling his name. Lockhart, we love you. Gilderoy, look this way. It looks like your new teacher is here. Let's go meet him. Lily did not look pleased at all while she said that. A blond man in his mid-30s with some flamboyant-looking robes walked to the table that had been set up for him, and sat down. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, but more especially the ladies. He winked. Oh, he's such a charmer, isn't he? Molly told Lily. He is something, yes. Lily frowned. I know you are all pleased to see me, the great Gilderoy Lockhart here in the flesh. As you all already know, besides being a successful author, I am the recipient of an Order of Merlin, 3rd class, for my many achievements. But I will admit that my favorite one is being the winner of the Most Charming Smile by the Wicked Witch magazine for the 3rd year in a row. He gave a toothy smile, showing his pearly white teeth to the crew, who seemed delighted and started clapping. Can we go? Harry requested. I want a word with him before, Lily told him. Are you going to ask him to sign those books? I could do that for you. I brought some of my personal favorites with me. Molly pulled a small stack of books from her purse. Lockhart made a gesture to calm the crowd. I know, I'm incredible. But before we get this event started, I have 2 announcements. The first one is that my latest book, Tangling with Vampires in Romania, will be coming out next month. In this adventure I protect an old town from the attacks of some nasty vampires who wanted to kidnap some of the local virgins. Romanian vampires again? What is going on there? He wondered if this was related to what Remus was saying. He was aware that Lockhart's modus operandi was to claim the achievements of poor unfortunate fools. But the events themselves were very much real. They were just performed by others. Of course I also took care of the virgins. Lockhart chortled. Oh, he is so humorous, isn't he? Molly grinned. Can I wait outside? Harry requested. I'm bored, Holly complained. Me too, Ron complained. Can we all wait outside? The twins requested. No. And be quiet, he is going to say something. Molly looked at them with righteous fury in her eyes. And as for my second announcement, this coming school year, you will be able to find me at Hogwarts. The headmaster, Albus Dumbledore, has personally requested me to be a teacher at the school for a year. And who can say no when it comes to inspiring the next generation of wizards and witches? Lockhart proclaimed. He is so admirable. What a hero. A teacher? I wish I could go back to class. Many women in the audience started to murmur. And now, we can start with the main event. I see you are all lined up, just how I liked it. He worked at the first woman in line and this one blushed. Excuse me, I just wanted to ask something. Lily raised her hand as she walked forward. Gilderoy looked at her and smiled. He also noticed the books on her hands. What a lovely thing we have here. But I'm afraid that if you want my signature you will have to wait in line like the rest. No, my question is about the books you marked for your DADA curriculum. All of the books you requested the parents to buy are your own books. Lily said with a deep frown. Well, I did try to find other books to select, but in the end my own ones were just the best. And I want the best for the children's education. Don't you also want the same? Lockhart asked. These, she held one of the books up, are not even educational books. They are just stories. Lockhart chuckled. Oh my dear, they are more than just stories. All the events depicted in my books are very much real. He was not lying on that one. But I have to say, I adore passionate mothers like yourself. I would love to discuss this further. Maybe over dinner. Ask my assistant over there for the details. He pointed to his left. Lily was beyond furious now. She was about to growl at him when a loud commotion started at the entrance of the shop. Is him. He is here. The boy who lived is here. People started to yell. The boy who lived is here. Well, bring him here. He had no doubt heard about my presence here, and came to see me. Lockhart pointed towards the entrance. The poor Neville was surrounded by people asking him questions while his grandmother tried to chase them away. A man from the press hurried up to grab him by the arm and dragged him to the center of the shop where Lockhart was waiting. Ah, there it is, my #1 fan. Gilderoy Lockhart moved smoothly to his side and placed his arm around Neville's shoulder. Go ahead, take some good pictures. The boy who lived with his new professor, Gilderoy Lockhart. He smiled. What? Who is this? Neville had no idea what was going on. Right, give me one of those stacks. Lockhart pointed to one stack of books on top of his table. This was the whole set needed for their school year. He was given the books and then placed them on Neville's arms. Here you go, said Lockhart before looking back at the camera. A full set of school books for free. For my good friend, Neville Longbottom. Is Longbottom, Neville complained softly. Text. Does he think this is over? Lily was about ran at him again when she felt a tug on her tunic. Mum, let's go please. Holly was beyond bored already. Fine, let's just pay for these books and leave. She had to give up on arguing with that man for now. Thank Merlin, said the twins. Finally, let's leave this place, Ron huffed. Yeah, Harry glanced at Neville and felt bad for the boy. But he also felt extremely relieved for not being in his place anymore. Being just Harry was truly a blessing. Whoa, why are you guys leaving in such a hurry? James spotted the group as they rushed to exit the bookshop. Mom, look, Lyra ran to her mother with a small box in her hand. You got your wand? Let me see. Lily opened the box and observed the wand inside. This wood, she was surprised by it. It looked extremely familiar to her. Is willow wood, Lyra said with a smile. I see, is the same as mine. Lily beamed while looking at her daughter. Ollivander once told me that willow chooses those with great potential. What is the core? It feels different than my phoenix one. The core is dragon heartstring, Lyra explained happily. Like mine, James grinned. She has a mix of both her parents. Is a great wand. Lyra, take good care of it, sweetie. Lily returned the box to her daughter. Check out mine, Dad. Ginny ran to her father. Oh, is beautiful, Ginny. Arthur stared at the wand. The wood had a very light brown tone. It almost looked white. Is made of yew and has unicorn horn as core, Mr. Ollivander said that it was very rare to be chosen by such a wand and that the owner could gain control over life and death. That's a very strange thing to say. Arthur was a bit weirded out by Ollivander's words, but that man was known for saying strange things. Life and death, Puff, you don't even know how to cast a single spell yet, Ron said with a mocking tone. I will learn soon, Ginny shouted at him. Okay, don't start now. Please. Ginny, did you say thanks to Mr. Potter for the wand? Arthur said as he returned the box to his daughter. I did, she answers quickly. Arthur nodded, and then looked at James. Thank you, James. Don't mention it. James shrugged it off. By the way, where is Molly? Still inside, answer George. Said she would not leave without his signature, added Fred. Signature? James looked confused. They mean Gilderoy Lockhart, a famous writer Molly likes. He is autographing books inside. Lily decided to complete the twins' explanation. Should we wait for her? Asked James. Arthur shook his head. We will never finish in time then. We forgot to mention it, but Neville Longbottom is also in the shop, Percy said. He is here. Ginny became immediately nervous. Calm down, Gin, Lyra told her. Do you want to go see him? You won't be able to see anything, Fred decided to say. Yeah, is filled with people wanting to take pictures and demand autographs. George added. Forget it, Ginny. Even I couldn't talk to him, and I'm his best friend, Ron decided to say. Ginny looked down. Oh, come on, cheer up. You'll see him at Hogwarts in no time. Lyra tried to cheer her up. Yes, that's right. I'm going to see him soon, Ginny said. Lily noticed a strange look on her son. Harry, feeling okay? Of course, I'm fine. We should continue the shopping. There are still some things left. Harry recovered his usual expression. Then, how do we do this? We still have robes and potion materials. James was reading the list. And toys, Holly reminded him. Right. And toys, James added. Why don't you and Lily take Holly to buy her toys? I think she has waited enough. I'll take the kids to get their robes measured, Arthur suggested. James looked at his wife and this one nodded. Yes, we can do that. James knew down and picked Holly up. Okay, young lady, let's go choose some nice toys. Yay! Finally, Holly proclaimed. Why do we have to go to this robe shop? I know I'm not getting new robes. Ron huffed. Not you, but Ginny will need some, Arthur explained. Wait, what? She already got a new wand, and now she is getting new robes too. Ron was running. Since when do you care about buying new clothes? Percy pointed out. Ron, Ginny is a girl, she needs female robes. She can't use Charlie or Bill's old ones like you do. And your mother's old robes were lost many years ago. Arthur avoided mentioning that Molly's old things were all lost during the Death Eater attack on the Prewett house. Ron was still not satisfied at all. His face was becoming redder and he seemed about to explode. Seeing this, Harry decided to help out. Why don't we go to the Quidditch shop? After they take my measurements, he suggested to Ron. The Quidditch shop. Ron seemed intrigued now, and his anger started to diminish. Yes, I need to pick some protections. And we can see the new brooms, Harry said. Protections? Lily glanced at her husband. James grinned and scratched his head. I'll tell you later, he said in a low voice. That sounds fun. Yes, I want to see the new brooms. The Nimbus 2001 is supposed to come out soon. Do you think they'll have any of them for display? Ron had switched to Quidditch mode and forgotten about everything else. Thank you, Arthur whispered to Harry. As he promised Ron after taking his measurements, he left Madame Malkin's and went to the Quidditch shop with Ron and Percy, who was acting as the adult figure. Whoa! There it is. Ron hurried to the showcase. There was a broom on display, a number 200 with a sign that said coming out on October 25, fastest broom in the world. There was no mention of the price. That's just a display replica. The real one is not out yet. Percy felt the need to point that out. The trio went inside and Ron immediately separated to go look at the new broom section. He could not buy them, but he could at least look at them. Harry walked straight to the counter, where a middle-aged man was distracted, reading a newspaper. Excuse me, how much is that new Nimbus? Harry asked. The man lifted his gaze from the paper and gave Harry a tired look. Look, kid, is a very expense. He stopped speaking all of a sudden and stared at Harry's acromantula silk robes. My apologies, young lord. The broom costs 350 galleons. You can reserve one and we can deliver it to you as soon as it arrives. His attitude had completely changed. Harry wanted to point out the man's unprofessional attitude, but that would get him nowhere. Bring me some parchment and a quill. I have a bit of a special request. Right away, sir. The shopkeeper showed a greedy smile. Special requests from rich kids would always translate to mountains of gold. King Cross Station. I want to go too, the little girl huffed. Not this again, Holly. Are we going to have the same conversation for the next 5 years? Lily held her daughter from running into the train. Is not fair, Holly screamed. Okay, you too. Lily glanced at Lyra and Harry. Have a good year, and don't get into too much trouble. Well, see you in December. She gave them a tight hug before leaving with Holly. I'm going to look for Ginny, Lyra said with excitement as they entered the train. Harry told her where the first years were usually staying and warned her to stay clear of the first 2 cars, as those were always taken by Slytherin students. He continued to walk through the train until he arrived at the last car. Wait for me, Ron. He heard the familiar voice of Hermione. He did find it odd she would be calling for Ron of all people. Those two had barely spoken last year. Come on, if we don't hurry, someone else is going to take it. Harry then saw them. Hermione ran to the last cabin of the train while Ron waited at the door. The two of them went inside and disappeared from his view. That was weird. He wondered why those two were together all of a sudden. I guess I just have to go there and see it for myself. He walked to the last cabin and opened the door. Hey, at least knock, Lavender shouted. Yes, is the least that, oh Harry, is you. Parvati stared at him. Harry, hi. Hermione greeted him with a smile. It's Harry, but still you should knock. What if Hermione was changing her panties? Lavender asked. What? Hermione almost jumped from her chair. Why would I be doing that here? Harry was too distracted to care about what they were saying. Where is Ron? The 3 girls were the only ones inside the cabin. Weasley, why would he be here? We can't stand him. Lavender gave him a weird look. He should be with Neville and Seamus. Were you looking for them? Asked Hermione. Wait, if you are looking for the Weasleys. Parvati was looking out of the window. It seems like they just entered the station. She pointed. Now? The train is about to leave, exclaimed Hermione. Yeah, well, they don't seem like the most responsible family, to be honest with you. Parvati thought out loud. Harry got closer to the window and peeked out. The entire Weasley family, except for Arthur and the 2 oldest, was there. This included Ron, of course. How can this be? I'm sure of what I saw this time. He recalled what happened during their visit to Diagon Alley. Am I hallucinating again? His eyes moved to Hermione. He observed her clothes and noticed that they were different from what the Hermione he had just seen moments ago was wearing. It was evident, the Ron and Hermione he saw were not the real ones. Hallucinating one time is a thing, but twice, this is disturbing. Harry, is there something on my face? Hermione asked. Harry then realized that he had been staring at her and got very close. Oh ho, has Harry noticed that our Hermie is maturing perhaps? Lavender smirked. Don't call me Hermie, Hermione hissed. Our Mayan is becoming a woman. Time passes so fast. She is already mesmerizing the boys. Parvati added with a dramatic pose. Don't call me Mayani either. She pointed at Parvati. Excuse me. Harry stood up and left the cabin in a rush. Come on, Harry. We were just joking, Lavender hurried to say. He looked a bit odd today. Parvati noticed. Yes, it's also weird that he came asking for Weasley. I have never seen them talk before. He looked anxious about something. Hermione commented. Oh, by the way, I have heard a juicy rumor, Lavender whispered while leaning forward. Already? We haven't even got to towards yet. Hermione was surprised. Is this about the new defense professor? Because everyone knows about that. Parvati commented. No, is not. Shut up. Lavender gave her a shush sign. My juicy rumor is about the Malfoys. You see, Harry went into the train corridor. After making sure no one was around, he pulled out his spare wand and started to cast all the detection spells that his father had taught him during the summer. There was a real possibility that someone was attacking his mind, filling it with these visions. His occlumency shields could be considered strong, but when it came to the mind arts, he knew there were those much better than him. Nothing? He tried them all. There was no sign anyone had cast any type of spell here, and there were no traces of spells having been cast on him. There was nothing at all. Could this be in his mind alone? Am I going crazy? My daddy told me to never call myself that. Is a very bad word. He was so distracted that he didn't notice the girl approach until she was right next to him. Luna. Hello, Harry Potter, have we met before? She tilted her head as she asked. No, we have not, Harry answered. Okay. She didn't seem to care that much that he already knew her name. I meet your sister, Lyra. She seems nice. She can be nice sometimes. Why are you here alone instead of with them? Luna looked out of the window for a while before answering. They talk a lot. It was making my head feel fuzzy. He chuckled. I can relate to that. Just don't go into that last cabin. It will make your head explode. Harry advised her. If she cannot take a few minutes with his sister and Ginny, Lavender and Parvati could be lethal. Luna looked at the last cabin with a serious gaze. That sounds dangerous. I will keep it in mind. I was following the trace of some crumple-horned snorkax. Have you seen any? They like tight spaces like these corridors. Luna looked around. No, I'm afraid not. He was already used to her talk about weird creatures. She then stared at Harry and walked around him. How strange. Harry waited patiently for her to continue. Most students have humdas or nargles around them, but you have some that I have never seen before, Luna commented. Really? What do they look like? For what he knows about how Luna's ability works, there was only one thing she could be seeing. His magic. I don't know. It's yellow. I think the nargles are afraid of it. Luna looked worried now. She wasn't looking at Harry directly, but at something around him. Luna! Harry called her a bit loudly to make her snap from her trance state. The glaze on her eyes disappeared and stared directly at him. Those things that you saw, they will not hurt you. Neither will I. Never. I can promise you that. Okay? Harry looked serious. Luna nodded. Good. You should go back now. I am not good for a first year to wander around too much, Harry advised her. When she left, Harry examined his hands and arms, looking for something specific. Not there. That's good. He looked relief. I have enough problems now. Don't need this to follow me here. This is amazing. Lyra had her eyes opened like plates. She had seen images of the castle, but looking at it in person was a completely different experience. Look at that ceiling. It's like a real sky. There is even the moon there. Ginny pointed up. That's an enchantment made by Rowena Ravenclaw almost a millennia ago. There are thousands of runes carved onto the ceiling to create that effect, and they need to be maintained every decade. Hermione got closer to the first years and told them. Hermione, stop killing the first year's sense of magical wonder. Lavender scolded her. I'm not doing that. I would love to have someone explain those things to me in my first year. Learn more about the castle, she responded. I personally like to leave some things unexplained. It makes the world seem more mysterious and romantic, Parvati said. But not everyone wants to remain as an idiot, like you. Her twin sister Padma joined their conversation. Parvati was getting ready to respond to his sister when Professor McGonagall called for everyone who was not a first year to go take a seat at their table. The sorting ceremony was about to begin. What house do you think your sister is going to end up in? Hermione asked Harry when it became Lyra's turn to put on the hat. He had considered what house would be better for her, but as long as she doesn't go to Slytherin, she would be fine. Not that he believed that they were all evil, but he was afraid that the other kids would be less than welcoming to a half-blood with a brother in Gryffindor. Any house will be good, but I would like to have her here in Gryffindor. He responded. Oh, are you the overprotective brother type, Harry? Asked Lavender. She is very pretty with those striking green eyes and her red hair. You are going to have a lot of work in the coming years chasing boys away from her, commented Parvati. She can do the chasing away herself. Lyra has a strong personality, like our mother. He said that, but if any boy were to cross the line, he would be teaching them a lesson. Gryffindor, the hat proclaimed. Harry let out a sigh of relief that he didn't know he had been holding. People at the table clapped for Lyra as she approached the table, making her feel somewhat embarrassed by the sudden attention. "Here, come sit here, we'll make room for you." Lavender waved at her and pointed at the seat. Hermione moved a bit and let Lyra sit between her and Harry. "Thank you, Em." Lyra was unsure how to address her. "Hermione, and these are Lavender and Parvati. We're friends of your brother." "Really?" Lyra was surprised. Harry never mentioned any school friends to her, and she had never seen him send a letter to anyone. She thought her brother was a bit of a loner. Harry felt his sister gaze upon him and he turned his head to meet her eyes. "Yes, well, welcome to Gryffindor, Lyra. You are going to love it here. This is the best house," Lavender commented with her usual high energy. "I hope my friend Ginny gets sorted here too," Lyra said. "Which one is Ginny?" Hermione asked as she looked at the few remaining unsorted students. "That one, the red-haired girl, Ginny Weasley," Lyra indicated. "A Weasley? Then she is definitely coming here. All of her family is in Gryffindor," Parvati informed her. After a few more sortings, it was finally Ginny's time. The hat had barely touched her head when it clamored the name of Gryffindor. "See?" Parvati remarked. Ginny went to sit with them, only stopping for a moment to greet her brothers and another one to stare at Neville, who was sitting close by with Ron and Seamus. "He is here. I just saw him," Ginny said with excitement as she arrived at Lyra's side and sat down between her and Hermione. "Saw who?" asked Hermione. "She is talking about Neville Longbottom," Lyra spoke in a low voice. She didn't want the entire table to know what they were talking about. Him. There was a lot of commotion with him last year, but now things have calmed down a lot," said Hermione, remembering the beginning of their first year. "Are you a fan of these books with his name on them? We had so many of those last year, including mine over there," Lavender added. "I was not a fan of the books. I just read a few of them and became curious about him." Hermione was not particularly proud of how she acted the first time they met. "So how is he in real life? He seems a bit different than I expected," Ginny commented while looking to her left, trying to catch a better glance at him. "Is he chubbier than you expected?" Lavender chuckled. She had heard that comment many times before. "Well, but that's not important. He must be very impressive with his magic, right? I mean, he defeated you-know-who when he was just a baby after all," Ginny said with a tone of admiration in her voice. "Actually, a lot of students thought he was a fraud last year," recalled Parvati. "A fraud? How so?" asked Lyra. "That's because, let's just say he was not." Hermione had a hard time finding the words. "He sucked in class. He couldn't even perform the simplest spells, and that was in first year," Lavender helped her. "He also blew at least a dozen cauldrons in potions class. Professor Snape tried to ban him from his class, or at least that's what some people claim," Parvati said. "Yes, but then most students changed their minds when those rumors started to circulate," Hermione said. "Rumors? What rumors?" Ginny leaned forward and listened with interest. "Yes, what rumors?" Lyra did the same. "During our first flying class he fell down from his broom. He was at least 100 feet in the air," Lavender exclaimed. Ginny and Lyra gasped. "Did he get hurt?" "No, that's the thing. Something happened before he hit the ground. It became softer like rubber and he just bounced a bit before stopping. Didn't even get a scratch," said Parvati. "The professor saved him?" Lyra asked. "No, that's what was weird. We all were there and saw it. The professor was still fumbling to get her wand out. She could not have cast the charm, and everyone else was first years. No one knew how to cast magic that advanced," Lavender added. "No one?" Lyra looked at her brother for a moment. Harry didn't seem to be paying attention. "So after that, rumors started to circulate that Neville himself must have created the spell without knowing it, like his magic acted on its own to protect him," Hermione explained. "Yes. I wonder who started those rumors." Parvati gave Lavender a side glance. "It doesn't matter," Lavender snapped. "But then another thing happened during his first Quidditch match." Yes, I heard Ron mention he played one game of Quidditch, but it didn't go well." Ginny recalled one of the few things her brother said in front of her about Neville. "You could put it that way. He was thrown off the broom by a bludger when they were playing against Slytherin," said Parvati. He fell off the broom again? Lyra asked. Yes. But then a powerful gust of wind appeared out of nowhere and he was saved again. Hermione explained. The rumors got more elaborated after that, saying things like he was the reincarnation of Merlin, or that he had so much magic that he could not control it, so it only went off during times of need. Yeah, and I was not the one who made those up. Lavender made a brief remark. I found it funny how Malfoy stopped bothering him after that. He would never admit it, but he was scared, said Parvati. Then, the acromantulas happened, Lavender exclaimed. My brothers told me about that. Some acromantulas got into the school, right? Ginny said. Yes, no one knows for sure how that happened, and a few hours later the professors informed us that they were gone. But that night, Neville was not at the Great Hall. Then he was seen leaving the infirmary, so the students started to speculate that it was him and not the professors who took care of the nasty spiders. Parvati commented, all of this happened during your first year. Lyra glanced at her brother. You never told me any of this, she complained. Welcome to Hogwarts. The headmaster, Albus Dumbledore, stood on the podium while addressing the entire Great Hall. From those who are just starting to those who are finishing your education, I wish you all to have a great year. I only have one important announcement before letting you all enjoy your dinner. This year we have a very special new defense professor. He is well known for his books more than anything, but I'm sure he will be a wonderful teacher for you all. Lockhart stood up from his chair with a grin and started to approach the podium. Please, give a warm welcome to. Dumbledore stopped talking mid-sentence when the podium shook violently, making him lose his balance for a second. But it wasn't just the podium. The entire castle had shaken. It had been only for a brief moment, but it was strong enough to startle the students and knock down a few pumpkin juice cups. What was that? Harry thought. Not even 5 seconds after the initial tremor, while they were all still processing what had just happened, the ground started to shake again. This time it was several times stronger and lasted for several seconds. The aftermath was chaotic. The drinks on the tables were spattered all over the hall, and the students, it was a good thing the elves were yet to serve the meals. Some of the children had fallen from their chairs while others had jumped out of them and hid under the tables. Lyra was clutching his arm and had her eyes closed, but she seemed to be unhurt. The same could be said about Ginny, Hermione and the others. Harry was quick to cast a silent sticking charm on the girls to his right and their chairs. Ouch, my head, Ron, who was at his left, complained. Seamus had also fallen next to him, and Neville was watching them with concern. Ron, you moron, why did you grab onto me? Shouted Seamus. Are you guys okay? Harry asked the girls while removing the charm with a flick of his wand under the table. I'm fine, I think. Ginny answered. Lyra? Harry called his sister, who was not letting him go. Is it over? She asked with her eyes still closed. Yes, it was just a short tremor. You can open your eyes now. Harry tried to calm her down. Lyra looked around and saw all the chaos around the hall. Most of the students ended up on the floor, one way or another, but she noticed that she was still secured on her chair. How did... Wow. I thought I was going to fall, but I was able to hold onto my chair somehow. Lavender took the words out of her mouth. Students, please remain calm, called the headmaster amid all the yelling. Prefects, please escort anyone who is injured to the infirmary. Everyone else, remain in your seats. Ouch. Help. Dumbledore looked behind him, at where the noises were coming from. Apparently the new professor had somehow managed to get stuck beneath the podium. It looked like he had been trying to hide there but could not fit. Professor Lockhart, how did you nearmind? Severus, please come help the new professor. Snape looked at the ridiculous position Lockhart had gotten himself in and frowned. His head and arms disappeared beneath the wooden platform while his butt was sticking out. There was no good way to get him out of there, not without magic at least. Depulso, with a quick wave of his wand, Snape sent Lockhart flying against the back wall. That was a bit unnecessary. Severus. Dumbledore frowned. Albus, I'm going to accompany the prefects. McGonagall told him as she was passing by. I'll go too. Have to make sure everyone gets safely to the infirmary. Professor Flitwick said. Things took a few more minutes to calm down. Then few children who were hurt were taken to Madame Pomfrey while the rest waited for the headmaster to speak again. Very well. This was an unfortunate start to our school year, but nature can be unpredictable sometimes. Luckily no one was seriously hurt. And now, as I was saying before, allow me to introduce our new Professor of Defense, Gilderoy Lockhart. There were a few claps here and there while Lockhart approached the podium again. But people were still a bit shaken. Harry observed Dumbledore as he went back to his seat. There was a clear look of concern on the old man's face, and Harry understood why. Anyone who has spent enough years in this castle would know there are no earthquakes in Hogwarts. This was not a natural occurrence. Harry, is something wrong? Lyra still looked anxious. No. Why do you ask? He asked. You were making that serious thinking face again, Lyra pointed out. I have a serious thinking face. You do, isn't that right, Ginny? Lyra turned to her friend. I don't know you as much as Lyra, but you do make some scary faces sometimes, Ginny recalled. Yes, he totally does. I saw those too. Hermione joined the conversation. Okay, let's move away from my face. Harry adjusted his glasses. And to answer your question, there is nothing that you need to worry about. This castle is one of the most secure places in the world. You are safe here. Just worry about getting to class in time and doing your homework. Harry told his sister. He also talks like an old man sometimes. Lavender joined the conversation. Does he talk like that at home? Parvati questioned Lyra. Sometimes. Lyra giggled. The fright from before disappeared from her mind. They then continued to talk about him. You should see the face he makes when he eats treacle tart, Lyra exclaimed. Oh, I remember that, Ginny chuckled. Harry sighed. He could defeat demons, dark wizards, or dragons. But winning an argument against a group of teen girls was an impossible challenge, and he was not going to fight a losing battle. It was better to ignore it. Mr. Potter, please stay behind for a moment, Professor McGonagall requested. Of course, Professor, Harry answered politely. You didn't get in trouble, right? Hermione stared at him. No, I don't think so. But he did have an idea of what she wanted to talk about. Harry waited patiently until everyone exited the classroom and approached the professor's desk. McGonagall lifted her eyes from her papers and glanced at him. Oliver Wood came to me yesterday to hand me the list of applicants for the Quidditch team, and I noticed your name among them. You were also one of the only 2 candidates for the position of Seeker. That is correct, Professor. He could guess where she was going with this. I'm sure you are aware already, but your father was a superb player during his school years. One of the best chasers the Gryffindor team ever had. McGonagall explained. He did mention it once or twice. The professor smiled. I bet he did. Did James teach you how to fly properly? He did. Harry nodded. And did you bring a good broom with you? The ones you can borrow from the school are suboptimal to say the least. I brought 2, my Nimbus 1900 and a prototype of the new Nimbus 2001 that my Uncle Remus gave me. I wasn't sure if the school would allow me to use the prototype to fly. I will need to consult this with the other professors, but I don't think there will be any problems once that broom becomes available for sale. In the meantime, use the 1900. Very well, that's no problem. The old one was still a good broom, and his opponents were going to be students. I have high hopes for you, Mr. Potter. The team really needs a good seeker. What happened last year was very unfortunate. It sounded like she wanted to use a different word to describe that. I'll do my best, Professor McGonagall, Harry promised her. There was one more thing I wanted to comment on. The professor let out a long pause. Is about your performance during the first classes of this year. Was there a problem with my work? He asked. Of course not. Your work has been perfect, even more so than Miss Granger. I could not have done it any better, but this made me wonder, where was this Harry last year? McGonagall questioned. Harry considered for a moment what to say. After assessing the current situation with Voldemort, he realized that there was no more need to keep a low profile at school. He was not planning on trying hard either. This was just the second year of Hogwarts. But he did stop holding back so much. It made attending school much more relaxing if he didn't have to carefully calculate his every move to avoid standing out more than the average student. I wasn't feeling very motivated last year, Professor. He decided to go with that. I see. I did notice that you seemed somewhat bored during our classes, the professor recalled. Still a name, he thought. But I'm glad to see this change in attitude. And if you are feeling unmotivated again, or if you think the material is too easy, I want you to talk to me, and we will figure something out. McGonagall said.
I understand.
Thank you, Professor McGonagall. He could at least appreciate the passion of this woman for teaching even if her efforts were wasted on him. There was nothing she could teach him anymore, she already did in the past, and since then he has pushed that knowledge to another level. Mr. Potter, I have been teaching for many years, and during this period of time I have developed a keen eye for students. I can tell when someone has something special to them, something that others don't have, and I can tell that you will accomplish great things in the future, Mr. Potter, as long as you study hard and don't give up. On Saturday morning, Harry was going through the contents of his suitcase. Daphne sent him a message yesterday to meet at their usual spot, but he was having trouble finding his invisibility cloak. I'm sure I put it here. He continued to move things around. He immediately discarded the idea that the cloak had been stolen. His suitcase was well protected against thieves. There was zero chance that a Hogwarts student, and especially one of his roommates, could get inside. It was at that moment that he noticed a black piece of fabric he had previously moved out of the way. Harry picked it up and examined it up close until he found the sigil of the Peveril family at the neck area. What is this? He could not understand it. He analyzed it further, looking for symbols and marks on the fabric. Harry was extremely familiar with this magical artifact. After further inspection, he had no doubt. This was the invisibility cloak he always used, but it looked completely different now. He remembers it looking normal when he packed his things, a few days before traveling to Hogwarts. When it was not in use, the cloak had a brilliant bluish tone with bits of silver on it. It was hard to miss it, but now it was all pitch black. If it wasn't for the symbols on the fabric, he would never believe it was the same cloak. He attempted to use it and threw the cloak over his head like always. His vision became completely occluded. He could not see a thing through the black fabric. It was clear that the cloak was not working any longer. He placed it on top of the bed and used his wand to perform a magical scan. This was used by the auras to detect and find potentially illegal magical artifacts, as these ones always let out a faint magical signature. Nothing. That was the result. There was not a single trace of magic on this thing. It was just a simple black cloak. How did this happen? This magical artifact that has been around for many centuries and passed down several generations of his family, has just lost its magic with no warning or explanation. Hi, Harry said as he placed his hand on her shoulder. Daphne let out a loud shriek while making a short jump backward. You need to stop making so much noise every time we meet. We are supposed to be sneaky. He decided to remind her. Potter, stop using that damn cloak of yours to startle me, she growled. Harry raised his hands defensively. As you can see, I have no clue this time. Then how come I didn't see you approaching? She asked with suspicion. Because I recalled how to use the disillusionment charm. He thought. You must have been distracted. He turned around and ignored her complaints. They could not remain in the middle of the corridor for much longer. It was Saturday morning, and a lot of students were walking around the castle. He opened the door of the meeting room and waited for Daphne to enter before closing it and applying a silencing charm. What happened to your cloak anyway? You never came here without it. It broke, he answered. Broke? She asked with a doubtful look. Is more likely that the enchantment ran out of magic. Even the high-quality ones only last for a year or two. A smug grin appeared on her face. You know, if you ask me nicely, I can ask my father to obtain one for you. No need. Harry sat down on a sofa. He had no interest in normal cloaks. He just wanted to know what happened to his. Fine. She was hoping to have him owe her a favor. My sister, Astoria, talked a lot about you after she came back from her visit. Daphne sat down in front of him. A lot, you say? He found that hard to believe. And what did she have to say about me? Her exact words were, he is interesting. That's a lot, Harry asked after a brief pause. If that's all she told her, that means Astoria probably kept to herself what she saw at the basement. That's a lot for her. The only other person she had ever talked about was your sister, Daphne pointed out. I understand. He waited for a moment to see if she would say something else, but seeing her silent, he decided to ask. What did you really talk about? I assume it wasn't just tell me that. Daphne frowned. Is my company that unpleasant? What's with this girl now? She wasn't like that last year. No, I do not find your company unpleasant. I was just curious about your reason for requesting this meeting. You usually have something important to discuss. Her expression of displeasure appeared to diminish slightly. Of course I have something important. I hope you have not forgotten about your promise. Right, I have not forgotten about it. Have you been working on your mental defenses? Why don't you give them a try? I have been working all legitimacy. His spare wand appeared on his left hand and was pointed at her head before she could finish her sentence. Daphne screamed as he pushed against her defenses. He was not trying to read her thoughts or any of her memories, just trying to tear down her mental barriers. But after the assault they still held in place. He could probably break them down with a second attack, but that was not necessary. It was already impressive that she got this far in just one summer. Not bad. He told her, only to realize that she was unconscious. Maybe I went a bit too far. At least there were no classes today. He pulled a book from a small shelf and sat down to read. It took an hour for her to wake up. Ugh, my head, Daphne groaned. Why am I on the floor? She looked a bit disoriented. You passed out during our test. Harry took a sip of his tea. And you left me on the floor. She could not believe it. I didn't want to appear rude and touch your body without permission, he told her. That's ridiculous. Of course, you can touch my body. Harry raised an eyebrow. I mean, in an emergency. She got a bit red. I'll remember it. And where did you get food from? She saw him eat something with a spoon and take another sip of tea. I called an elf. What? We are not supposed to be seen here. By students or professors. The elves don't care. He took another bite. This is delicious. Would you stop eating cake already? Is not cake, it's chocolate tart. Vanilla-based chocolate ganache. And a drizzle of mint sauce. I only have enough for me, but I'll let you take one bite. He conceded. I don't want any. But more importantly, what happened with the test? Did I fail? She looked somewhat worried. After all, she had put in a lot of effort. Not at all, you passed. Your defenses are decent. Harry finished his dessert and took one last sip of tea. Then, you have to tell me what happened last year. I don't have to tell you anything. I can tell you things. There is a difference. Right? She appeared to at least realize this. You don't have to answer, but there are a few things I have been wanting to know. Like what happened last year with that teacher who attacked us. And don't tell me he just ran away. Daphne looked serious. We had a short duel. I won, Harry answered. You won? Against a veteran hit wizard. You don't have to believe me, but you asked. Is Professor Nair alive? No. Daphne paused for a moment. She was going to ask if he was the one who killed him, but he wasn't going to answer something that direct. Have you lied about your identity? Because there is no way a first year could, you know. We have not lied to you or your family. I am Harry Potter, heir of the House of Potter. That is the truth. She seems a bit relieved after hearing this. But you won't tell me more about you. Is not relevant. Of course is relevant. Our families have a contract. We could become engaged one day, said Daphne with exasperation. That's why you are so obsessed with this. That's extremely unlikely to happen. There was one clause in their contract saying that if neither of them had found a suitable partner by the end of Hogwarts, they would revise the matter of the marriage between their families. He knew that his parents only agreed to this in order to satisfy Lord Greengrass, and they would never agree on anything against his will. But it seems like Daphne has different ideas. Why won't you trust me? What do I have to do? The ground started to shake with tremendous violence all of a sudden, like it did a week ago during the opening feast. Everything in the room trembled with violence. Harry took hold of Daphne's waist and moved her out of the way as a glass case was about to fall on top of her. Her face became paler as she realized what almost happened. Thanks. A shelf was about to fall, but Harry threw a sticking charm to keep it in place. And then, it stopped. The whole thing only lasted around 5 seconds. But Harry noticed something he had missed the last time. This was very different from an earthquake. It felt more like an initial impact followed by a weaker aftershock. Like something had just hit the castle with immense force. Enough to shake its very foundations. It's over. You okay, Daphne? He released his grip on her waist and she almost fell down. Is not going to happen again? Are you sure it's over? She looked around trying to make sure that nothing else was about to fall on them. I cannot be completely sure since I don't know what's causing this. This means that this is not a natural event like the headmaster said. Daphne was already suspicious of that. No, there are no earthquakes in this area, and even if there were, the castle's many protections would prevent most of the shaking. Harry admitted. What it is then? Who knows? I want to go check on my sister, make sure she didn't get hurt. He repaired the case and prepared to leave. Right. We can talk more on another occasion. Daphne looked like she had something else to say, but he wanted to make sure Lyra had not been hurt. So he left the room and hurried to the library where she had told him was going to be spending the morning. The place was in chaos when he arrived. There were thousands of books scattered all over the floor, and some of the shelves had toppled over. Point me, Lyra. There were many students here and didn't want to waste time. His wand moved on its own and pointed in one direction. Harry just had to follow it for a few seconds until he spotted his sisters Ginny and some blonde girl he was not familiar with. The three girls looked frightened but not hurt, at least at first glance. Harry, Lyra called for him when she saw him approach. Are you girls okay? Anyone got hurt? He asked while examining them. We are fine. We were only hit by a few books when everything started to fall, Ginny said. Some senior got badly hurt when the shelves started to fall. They took him to the infirmary already, the blonde girl added. Do you know what is happening, Harry? Asked Lyra. Some of the older boys said that there have never been earthquakes in Hogwarts. And now we had 2 in a week. No, I don't know what is happening. But he intends to find out, that's for sure. For the moment I think is better if I accompany you 3 to the common room. During lunch the headmaster made an announcement addressing the current situation. There were a few injured students during the events, but nothing serious enough that Madame Pomfrey could not heal. Dumbledore said there was nothing to worry about, as it was unlikely that it would happen again. But Harry could feel the concern in his eyes. It seemed to him that the headmaster had no idea what was happening either. Lastly, he informed them that was an extra security measure. The professors were going to apply permanent sticking charms to anything that could pose a danger of falling, like shelves, the old medieval armors, or the trophy case. During the afternoon, instead of his initial plan of going to the room of requirement for some practice, he decided to venture into Hogwarts bowels in search of some answers. He had not entered the Foundation since last year when he completed his artifact. Harry walked around the familiar chamber and looked around. He was convinced that whatever was causing the tremors was doing it from within the castle, and this would be the ideal place to accomplish that. The only issue with that theory was simple. This was the most secure location in the entire castle, and the reason for that was the 100 marble golems that were placed there to protect it. Even the Voldemort he knew during his peak of power would not survive long if he tried to invade this chamber. He continued to explore for over 2 hours, examining everything he could. The only column with some damage to it was the one close to his workshop, and he was the one who caused that. Not his smart moment, but he got a bit eager to try his new tool. Everything else looked completely untouched. Whatever was causing the tremors was not doing it from here. So many strange things had happened recently. Those visions, my invisibility cloak and these strange quakes, could they be related somehow, or is it just a coincidence that they are happening now? He tried to analyze them one by one to find anything in common between them, but could not come up with anything. Harry already had experience with visions from his past life, but those were due to his connection with Voldemort, a connection he no longer had. Also, these felt a lot different. In fact, they didn't feel like visions at all, but were more real. It was hard to explain it, but the people he saw felt completely real. And if Voldemort was not the one causing them, he would have a hard time finding the origin of the problem. The matter of the cloak seemed completely unrelated. He could talk with his father about it, but it was unlikely that he knew much about it. There was only one person at this time whom Harry could call an expert on the Hallows. If anyone could know the cause for the cloak change, that would be him, Xenophilius Lovegood, Luna's father. It will not be easy to arrange a meeting with him. That man was very paranoid. As for the matter of the tremors, Harry only had one more idea. As improbable as that idea was, I will need to find a way to enter the Chamber of Secrets. Welcome to my wondrous class, it is I, Gilderoy Lockhart. Lockhart announced from the top of a balcony that overlooked the entire classroom. Harry was convinced that Lockhart had personally requested for that to be installed in his class, so he could always greet his students as some sort of royal ruler. And that goes the same for that ridiculously flamboyant chandelier. Today was the third class they had with the man, and was unfortunately a double class. First thing on Monday morning. Whoever designed that schedule was a sadist. Oh, what a handsome man we have here, Lockhart told his own painting while descending the balcony staircase. My thank you. You are not too bad yourself, the painting answered. Are we going to do more of those quizzes about you, Professor? One of the students asked. Oh Merlin, please no. Harry heard Parvati muttering from the seat behind him. What's wrong with the quizzes? I like them. Hermione looked confused. The quizzes. No. Today I have something special prepared. Lockhart looked completely oblivious to relieved faces of his students. But don't you worry, there will be many more quizzes about my books and my personal life before the end of the year. He ignored the sounds of complaints and walked to the middle of the class, where they could see something covered with a tarp. Now, I want you all to divert your eyes away from my beautiful smile and focus on this. He removed the piece of cloth, revealing a cage filled with small blue creatures with wings. You! What are those things? They are so ugly. Wait, I know these. They are Cornish pixies. They are not dangerous at all, Seamus explained. Lockhart grinned. Very well, Mr. Something. These are freshly caught Cornish pixies indeed. Here are 5 points for Gryffindor. As for not being dangerous, why don't we test it? Please tell me he is not going to. Hermione did not have time to finish her sentence before their professor opened the cage and unleashed the chaotic creatures upon his unprepared students. Even Lockhart realized that things went a bit too far when a group of them took hold of the boy who lived, and started to lift him in the air. No, don't put him on my chandelier. He's going to break it. Wait, I can fix this. The professor aimed his wand at the mass of blue creatures. Pesky pixie peston. He was not allowed to finish his chant because one of the pixies stole his wand and threw it out of the window. Well, that's not good. The professor looked very worried now. Neville continued to scream at the mischievous creatures, leaving him hanging there. I think I have a spell for this. Hermione stood up and lifted her wand in the air. Harry would have been fine with letting her take care of the situation, but then he noticed Lockhart worming away towards his balcony. No doubt he was planning on escaping by himself and leaving his students to their own fate. He would not allow that. After making sure that no one was looking in his direction, he held his wand at his side, pointing upwards. Immobilis, Hermione cast her immobilization charm. Hypnos, Harry spoke his own in an almost inaudible whisper. As Hermione magic reached the pixies and locked them in place, so did Harry's one, which put them all to sleep. However, his spell had one extra target. Hermione, that was incredible, exclaimed Lavender. Yes, and you got them all, added Parvati. Professor Lockhart? Some of the students approached the immobile professor. Oh Merlin, I think he is dead, someone shouted. It was Granger, she killed him. Some of the girls from Slytherin pointed their fingers at her. I saw her use some strange spell, another one pointed at her. What? No, my spell was only meant to immobilize. Hermione defended herself. Well, look at those ugly things, they are dead, aren't they? A Slytherin girl poked one of the pixies with her wand. He is not dead, you lot. Better not be thinking about going into healing magic if you can't even tell that. Harry walked to Lockhart and kicked him. The girls were about to start yelling at him when the professor moved and groaned. 5 more minutes, Mommy. See, he is sleeping. Harry walked away. This class is over. Just put those things inside the cage before they wake up. He pointed at the pigs. Who put you in charge, Potter? Malfoy growled. No one. Feel free to stay here and wait for him to wake up, Harry answered. Tusk, let's go. Draco started to walk away, but his 2 goons seemed to hesitate for a moment. I said let's go, Draco yelled at them, and they finally followed. Harry noticed Daphne's stare on him but decided to ignore it. They were not supposed to interact outside of their meeting. He walked to Hermione. who looked very shaken. "I didn't mean to do this. It was just supposed to immobilize them." "It's okay, Hermione, it was still awesome." Lavender tried to cheer her up. "Hermione," he called her, and she looked up. "You didn't hurt anyone. Lockhart is fine and so are the pixies. Stop worrying so much." Hermione nodded. "I supposed, but I wonder why it had that effect." "Guys," someone called from above. They all look up. "I would like to get down now, please," Neville begged. "Yeah, can someone help the boy who lived get down from the chandelier?" Pansy said in a mocking tone, and several Slytherins started to laugh at her jest. "You shut you up," Ron shouted. "Don't worry, Nev. We are going to get you down from there in a moment." Maybe we should go call a professor," suggested Parvati. "Is okay, Neville? I got this." Seamus pointed his wand up. Neville's face went pale. "No, anyone but him. Please." Seamus waved his wand around. "Wingardium Leviosa." After taking Neville and some poor boy who happened to be at the wrong place when the chandelier exploded to the infirmary, Harry made his way to the next level of hell, potion class. After classes were over for the day, Harry still had one more appointment. "All recruits, line up over there," Oliver told the 10 new recruits for the team. He was quite happy as they normally don't have more than 5, but more importantly they had 2 candidates for Seeker. Fred and George Weasley stepped forward and started to help with the trials. "Those who came to apply for the position of Beta, come with us." 5 boys followed them. Alicia Spinnet approached the remaining ones. "Chasers with me." 2 boys and 1 girl went to follow her. Harry was left waiting next to the other candidate for Seeker. He looked like an older boy, maybe 5th or 6th year. He had short blonde hair and was severely overweight, to the point that Harry was unsure if the broom would be able to lift him. Those runes clusters have a weight limit after all. "Huff. Are you okay?" Harry asked when he saw the boy breathing heavily. "Fine, Huff, just, Huff. A bit tired," he answered with difficulty. "We have done nothing yet." Harry looked shocked. "Why do you want to join the team?" He could not imagine why someone so out of shape would want to join a sports team. After all, there were many better ways to lose weight, if that was his objective. "Chicks," he gave Harry a toothy smile. "Enough, Daryl, by the way." "Harry, nice to. Are you guys ready to start?" Oliver looked at them with excitement. He was carrying a brown leather box under his arm. "Meet you off." Darry ended his previous sentence. "I'm ready." Harry had a complicated expression. Off. "I'm ready," Darryl eventually said. "Great." Oliver glanced at Darryl with a worried expression before looking at Harry. "Are you familiar with the rules, Harry?" "I am Mr. Wood, my father taught me," Harry answered. "Just call me Oliver." "Ah yes, your father was a great player from what I heard." "Let's get started then." Oliver nodded and opened the box that contained a complete set of Quidditch balls. He then released the clasps on the golden snitch and held it firmly in his hands. "The test is very simple. I am going to release this golden snitch, and you will both start chasing it after I give the signal." Oliver then threw it in the air and the little golden ball sprouted a pair of wings before flying away at great speed. He made a short pause before speaking again. "Okay, you can get on your brooms and go now. I want you to remember one thing. Do not worry if you can't catch it. This is just to see." Before he could finish his sentence, Harry had already mounted his broom and ascended at the maximum speed the Nimbus 1900 allowed. Harry went 100 feet in the air in just one instant, and spotted the snitch ahead of him. The ball did not have the time to go too far away, because Oliver was not counting on him starting his flight so quickly. Harry willed the broom to move and he soon was able to catch up with the snitch. The max speed of the golden snitch is lower than the average Quidditch broom. It was designed like that to allow players to close the distance. Most of the difficulty when catching the ball came from its ability to make quick 90-degree turns, and its reduced size, but for someone with a trained eye and quick reflexes, it was not too difficult to predict its path. Once he got very close to the golden ball, this one tried to get away by making a swift turn upwards. Harry's hand was already there waiting for it. As soon as it touched his palm, he closed it and secured the snitch. The entire maneuver since he took off the ground lasted almost 6 seconds. George, Fred, and Alicia were yet to start their own trials. The three of them were very curious about their potential new seeker, so they decided to wait a bit and observe the test. After all, their chances of being able to compete this year were very much reliant on finding a decent seeker. What is Merlin's? Fred stared up at the sky. Balls. George was doing the same. Looks like we have our seeker, this one is promising. Alicia had a wide smile on her face. Incredible. Oliver was able to get a better look than the others. He saw Harry predicting the path of the golden snitch and placing his hand on its path before it moved. He is a natural. Okay, I'm ready. To start, Darryl had just managed to mount his broom. What? Oliver had genuinely forgotten there was someone else trying out for the position. Oh, right, the test is over. Really? Huff, that's good. I'm exhausted. Darryl looked around but could not find Harry. The boy left. Huff, so I'm on the team. Oliver sighed. This was depressing, but they still needed a reserve seeker, and he was the only candidate. You are welcome to the team. As a reserved thought. Good enough. Darryl gave him a thumbs up and collapsed on the grassy ground. He had reached his limit. You are definitely going on a diet, Oliver whispered to himself. Harry landed slowly next to the captain and gave him the snitch. How did I do? You serious? Welcome to the team, Harry. Oliver took the ball back. Did your father teach you those moves? Or, mate, that was bloody awesome. Fred came running. Oi, Fred, you said the whole thing, George complained. Sorry, I got too excited. Fred scratched his head. Harry, right? Alicia got close to him. Say, wanna hang out after practice? I'm sure that Angelina and Kate would love to meet our new teammate. The Middle Eastern beauty gave Harry a playful wink. Whoa, slow down your horses. Alicia, he is in his second year. Oliver reprimanded her. I was just trying to socialize with our new team member. Alicia pouted. Hey, off. Darryl raised his hand from the ground. I'm Huff. I'm free. You know what? I just remembered I have a ton of homework to do, and I need to get started with my trial now. Bye. She ran out as fast as she could. Anyways, this year is going to be interesting. Oliver looked hopeful for the first time in a year. Harry removed the invisibility charm after making sure no one was around. What are you doing here? None alive at least. Hello, Myrtle, he greeted the annoyed ghost. You know me? She was taken aback. No one bothers to even ask her name anymore. Wait, but you can't be here. This is a girl's bathroom. But no girls are using it right now, Harry remarked. Besides, I didn't come here to spy on anyone. Then, why did you come here? Harry walked towards the facets at the end of the bathroom. Have you seen this thing open, or anything suspicious happening in this bathroom? Yes, she exclaimed loudly. I saw something coming out from there, something with creepy yellow eyes. When did this happen? He already had a suspicion. I don't know. A long time ago, I think. This was before I became like this. I see, I was looking for something more recent. What about since then? Anything else happened? He asked. She seemed to consider it for a moment but then shook her head. It's all been very boring since that day and no one ever visits me. This does not disprove that the chamber could be related to the recent issues. He was convinced that other entrances leading to the chamber must exist. He could not imagine Voldemort entering through here, or one of Hogwarts' founders for that matter. Then again, 1,000 years ago, maybe this was not a girl's bathroom but something else instead. He located the one faucet with the snake symbols on it. Open. Nothing happened. Open. Now. Why are you yelling at that thing? What a weird boy. Myrtle looked confused. It is as I feared. I don't possess the parcel tongue ability anymore. He had already tested it with some snakes he summoned but still wanted to test it in this place, just in case it did something. As unlikely as that was, he was aware that the ability to speak with snakes was not something he inherited from his family bloodline, but a gift he acquired by chance due to his connection with Voldemort. At least that's what Dumbledore always told him. Now that I don't have my scar, that connection is no more. Does this mean that Neville possesses the ability now? And that was something he would need to verify. Using Parcel Tongue was the easiest way to gain access to the chamber. Trying to use brute force will definitely be extremely dangerous. The protections were created many centuries before the ministry started to regulate the lethality of magical wards, and they were put in place by a man with dubious morals and a great deal of magical knowledge. No, that will be the last resource, he decided, and there may be a chance to verify if Neville is a Parselmouth very soon. This same morning Lockhart had been announcing the creation of a dueling club, led by him. The first meeting will take place at the end of this week. He was sure that Neville would be dragged to attend and participate one way or another, like they did to me, long ago. Why did I have to come? I have no interest in dueling. Lavender huffed. Or the professor, like someone I know. Parvati glanced at Hermione. It will be fun, and we will have the chance to finally see Professor Lockhart in action. Hermione looked very excited. I just want to kick some Slytherin ass. Ron clenched his fists. Maybe I get to fight Malfoy. Why he hasn't bothered us this year, so far at least, Seamus commented. It doesn't matter. How long do you think that's going to last? Isn't that right, Nev? Ron asked. Well, I'll be fine if he just leaves me be. Neville looked around the place with a nervous look. There were over 100 people in the room, all from different years. Professor Lockhart did not put any age restriction in the club, so anyone who wanted to apply was welcome to do so. There are several students from the 6th and 7th years. Parvati recognized the ones from the Gryffindor house at least. Well, it doesn't matter to me because I won't be dueling anyone. At most I'll watch. Lavender crossed her arms. I think the actual dueling will be for the older students. Don't you think so too, Harry? Hermione turned to him. I believe you are giving Lockhart too much credit for his planning, he replied. And there is no way that glory-seeking man will miss the chance to use Neville to increase his fame. He felt a bit bad for this, but he was counting on that to happen. Hey, Lyra and Ginny approached their group. Hello, girls. So you came here too, huh? I hope Hermione didn't drag you into this too, Lavender said. No, we just wanted to see some actual magical duels. I mean, we haven't learned anything interesting yet. Lyra muttered. It's just the beginning of your first year. What did you expect? Harry told her. Lyra glanced at him with interest. Are you going to be dueling, Neville? Ginny collected the courage to address him. Duel? Me? Neville looked startled by the question. I wouldn't know what to do. What? But Ginny became confused. What about you, Harry? Well, we see you duel someone. Lyra had an expectating look on her face. I have no interest in duels. His answer came out a bit more defensive than he intended, but the idea of using his skills as mere entertainment sounded almost offensive to him. Really? Lyra titles her head. He could understand her reaction. She probably assumed that the reason he was practicing so much was because he wanted to become a duelist or something like that. He will have to tell her the truth one day. Look at this. So many students want to learn the art of dueling from me. Lockhart got on top of one of the platforms they prepared for the duels. Don't you agree, Professor Snape? He asked his colleague. Snape glanced at him with furrowed brows. If it wasn't for the headmaster's personal request, he would never have agreed to this. Anyways, I was thinking that we should have a quick demonstration of what a real duel entails. I know that among the audience there is a little wizard with almost as much potential as myself. He looked towards Harry's group. Oh no, please no. Neville begged. Neville Longbottom, please come here to my side, Lockhart explained out loud while pointing at him. Everyone in the room turned to look in Neville's direction and started murmuring. You go, Nev. Get up there and kick some ass, mate. Ron tried to sound encouraging at least. Seeing no other choice, Neville lowered his head and climbed the platform. Excellent, said Lockhart. Now we just need an opponent for you. What about one of your friends? Maybe the head-on one. He did not remember his name at all. That won't do, Snape interviewed. That would just be a practice between two friends and not a duel. Allow me to choose a proper opponent. I suppose that would be all right, admitted Lockhart. Malfoy, get up there, Snape shouted. Draco gave Neville an angry look but didn't throw any of the regular taunts. Harry thought that Draco looked very different than usual, but a change should be expected considering he lost his father, and he was not willing to waste time thinking about Draco's struggles anyway. Very well, the two contenders should go to their positions. Lockhart pointed at the two circles drawn on each extreme of the platform. Once Neville and Draco were in position, he continued, "Now you two will give a polite bow to each other, and will start when I give the sign. Remember, only school curriculum spells are allowed. Start." "Tarantallegra," Draco called immediately. Neville's legs started to jerk erratically and he almost fell from the platform. Many started to laugh, including Draco. He could have taken the chance to finish him there, but this was not enough for him. He wanted to humiliate him. The Gryffindors are the only ones encouraging Neville. "Come Longbottom," Oliver shouted. "Neville, you can do it." Ginny lifted her arms. "Come on, Nev," Ron roared. Neville recovered from the spell and aimed his wand at Draco. Rictius, Emperor. It was the only spell he had learned so far this year, and it had been Hermione the one who taught it to him. Maybe those trips to the library are not as useless as Ron always says, Neville thought as he saw him spell impact on Draco's chest. The blonde boy almost fell backward and then started to laugh while grabbing to his sides. He had been hit with the tickling charm. The students laughed and pointed at him, even the Slytherin ones. The charm passed and Draco was left feeling very embarrassed and angry. He was going to return the same charm back Neville when he saw his head of the house approach. "This is ridiculous," Snape huffed and got on the platform. "Come here." Draco got closer and Snape whispered something in his ear. They all saw his expression change to one of cruel joy. "Is there a problem, Professor Snape?" Lockhart asked. "Nothing for you to worry about. Continue." Snape growled at him. "Is my turn now? Take this, blood traitor." Serpent Sorcher. A dangerous-looking black snake appeared in the middle of the platform and started to slither towards Neville. "I said school-only spells," Lockhart exclaimed. Harry's eyes narrowed. This was the moment he's been waiting for. "Come on, Nev, talk to it." "To stay away from me," Neville cried. But the snake kept approaching. No, that was not Parseltongue. Harry got closer to the platform. He needed to be sure. Unfortunately, Draco's instructions during its summoning were sloppy and the snake quickly lost interest in Neville and turned to some other boy from Ravenclaw.
"What? Stay away from me?"
The boy took a step back. Harry had no choice but to intervene. He got in time to cast a silent mild compulsion charm from amidst the crowd. This was enough to turn the snake back to Neville. "Sorry, Nev, but I need to be sure." Harry felt bad for doing this, but this was too important and he only incited the snake to move, not to bite. Neville was petrified in fear. He stared at the approaching snake. "No, please, I don't like snakes," he screamed and recoiled backward until he tripped and fell on his butt. "Don't you worry, I'll take care of this." Lockhart pulled out his wand and waved it at the snake. "Serpento evanesci." Lockhart threw his misspelled charm at the snake, and this one flew in the air for a few seconds before landing painfully on the platform again. Still alive but a lot angrier now. The mild compulsion was now gone, so the snake turned to its closest target, who just so happened to be Harry. Snape was about to banish the snake, after realizing that Draco had summoned a highly venomous species, but when he saw the snake turn to Harry, he hesitated for a moment. Harry was not paying attention to any of this now. His mind was in turmoil. How can this be? He is not a Parselmouth, but he has the scar, he must have the connection too. Then why? He had the feeling he was missing something very important, a key difference between the past him and the current Neville. "Harry?" He heard someone call his name. Then he noticed a snake head on his right hand. He had crushed its skull without thinking. "Oh, Vipera evanesca." Snape hurried to remove the now dead snake. Harry felt the stares of everyone around him, stares of shock and fear. He was familiar with those. "Excuse me." Harry turned around and forced his way through the crowd. "Potter, wait." He heard Snape call for him but ignored him. He also ignored his sister Hermione and the others. He needed some time alone, some time to think. He rushed into the room of requirements and sealed the door. Harry's mind raced through the possibilities, but there was one thing that bothered him the most. Why is his scar different than mine? What did I have that he didn't? The events on that crucial Halloween night, the one that turned them into the Chosen One, were similar but also very different. Voldemort invaded their homes and killed their parents. But only in Harry's case, Voldemort died. Except he didn't truly die and his soul remained tethered to this realm by his Horcruxes. Why did he only die with me and not with Neville? What prevented Voldemort from killing him was his mother's magic. The protection she unknowingly cast upon him at the moment of her death was what ultimately defeated the Dark Lord that day, and left him with his cursed scar and his connection with that man. That was Dumbledore's theory, but he could not come up with anything better either. Neville had definitely similar protection, otherwise he would have never survived that day, but for some reason his was slightly weaker. It was not enough to completely destroy Voldemort but to leave him severely injured. Instead, Neville still received a similar scar on his forehead, similar but not the same. This single difference created a big change in future events. But why? Why was my scar different? Why did it create that link between us? Why did I feel pain every time he was close to me? Harry realized then that the answer had been in front of him all those years. Because he died in order to create a Horcrux, one must commit the vilest of acts, even if it is the murder of oneself. He made me a Horcrux. This realization came soon followed by a much terrible one. For all these years they always wondered how Voldemort came back, after being killed at the Battle of Hogwarts during his 7th year. After all, they had destroyed all of his Horcruxes. They were so sure of it. It was all my fault if I had died that day. His wife, his friends, the entire world could have been spared from that fate if only he had died sooner. Did Dumbledore know about this? Did he know what I was? The old man must have at least been suspicious. He should have said something always with his secrets. Had I known, damn it! He slammed his fist against a wooden shelf. Its contents fell to the ground, making a mess. What is the point of finding out this late, when there is nothing I can do about it? Harry remained inside the room of requirements for hours, breaking stuff or sulking. By the time he came out it was almost midnight. In the end, nothing changed. He could not go back to that world and make things right. It was too late for that. He will need to live with the knowledge that he was partially responsible for the near extinction of humanity, and the deaths of everyone he cared about. The only reason he was able to continue at this point was knowing that doing nothing could mean the extinction of another world, one where his parents were alive and happy, as well as having 2 sisters, a world where Ginny, Hermione, Ron, Luna, and Neville were alive. He could not let them down. Not again. He had to do what he could to save this one at least. Saving a world in exchange for ruining a world seems fair. Oh! He did not expect to find anyone in the halls at this time as he mindlessly walked through the 6th floor. A girl with long blonde hair was staring out of one of the many windows this corridor had, which offered a great view of the Forbidden Forest. Not that there was much to see at this time. He was about to address the girl when she spoke first, without looking at him. "Hello, Harry Potter." "Hello, Luna. May I ask what you are doing awake at this hour?" He noticed that at least she was wearing shoes this time around. "I got distracted while following a group of blibbering hundings, and I can't seem to recall the way back. So I came here for the view." Harry glanced outside. There was nothing but darkness outside. Clearly she could see something he could not. "I can take you to the Ravenclaw Tower's entrance if you want," Harry offered. He didn't want to leave her alone in a dark corridor. "That would be nice. It's getting chilly here." She glanced up at his head. "You have more Nargles than usual around you." "I had a difficult day. Found out something troubling." "I see." She took off her necklace and held it in her hands. "Here. This has an enchantment to drive away the negative things. That's what my mom said at least." Harry looked down. It was a necklace made with a butterbeer cork and a metal chain, but no matter how silly it looked he knew that this was something made by her late mother and it was incredibly valuable to Luna. "Luna, I can't accept this." She smiled. "I have more at home. Mom used to make me one for every birthday. And you seem to need it more than me right now." Harry nodded and took the necklace before placing it around his neck. "Thank you." "You are welcome." Luna smiled brightly. "Say, Luna, how are the other kids treating you?" Harry asked while they were walking. She shrugged. "They mostly ignore me. I don't think they like me talking about things they can't see." If they want to ignore you, forget about them. They are not worth your time." "What about Ginny and Lyra? Do you talk with them?" "Sometimes, but it's difficult, being in different houses and all," Luna said. Other than on special occasions, there are no rules that prevent students from sitting on other houses. Sit at the Great Hall. You can come to the Gryffindor table any time you want. Really, and if anyone complains, she asked, then I'll deal with them, Harry assured her in a way that may have come a bit more threatening than he intended. I would love to, Luna said with a toothy grin. Harry turned around and started to walk with Luna right behind him, when all of a sudden he heard her speak. It was not your fault, Harry. Stop blaming yourself for that. He immediately turned around and stared at Luna, who looked as confused as him. What did you say? I don't think I said anything, Harry Potter. I was admiring this intricate ceiling while we walked. Luna tilted her head to one. Did I do something strange? That happens sometimes. No, it's fine. Let's go. Harry turned around and continued walking. He then realized something even more odd than hearing random voices. The voice he heard was definitely Luna's, but not this child version of her. That was adult Luna. Harry sneaked into the common room and walked up the stairs. As expected, all of his roommates were fast asleep. He felt very tired already, but there was one thing he had to check. I need to make sure. He walked to Neville's bed and held his wand. Harry had no doubt that Voldemort had also created the Horcruxes in this world. Lucius Malfoy confirmed to have had the diary for years before it mysteriously disappeared, like the Ravenclaw tiara that was supposed to be in Hogwarts. He could assume the rest of them had disappeared too, but maybe he could visit the cave during the summer. In any case, now that he knows that he created them, there is a chance that Neville— What am I going to do if he turns out to be a Horcrux? Can I bring myself to kill an innocent boy? Stop. Don't get ahead of yourself. You don't know yet, and still there could be other ways to remove it. He calmed down and pointed his wand at Neville's forehead. The scan he was performing was designed to detect dark magic, is not meant to detect Horcruxes specifically, but he figured the results would be at least strange if such magic was in there. He repeated the scan 2 more times to be sure. Neville's wound was a cursed scar. He had no doubt of that. This is a common occurrence with wounds inflicted by dark magic. It often leaves a residue that prevents it from healing completely, unless is removed. This would make sense if he was hit with a killing curse like him. But other than that, there was nothing. It was just a normal scar. Off. He was able to breathe in relief. Harry. He must have been a bit too loud because he awoke Neville. At least the boy was still asleep enough to not notice his wand or wonder what he was doing next to his bed. Hi Neville, I just got back. Sorry for waking you up. Where were you? Professor McGonagall was looking for you. And also Hermione, your sister and the other girls. They were all worried after what happened. He had forgotten about that. It seems like tomorrow I'll have a lot to deal with. I just needed some time alone, Harry said. Well, I'm glad you are fine. And thank you. Harry glanced back at him. Thank you for what? For saving me, of course. I thought I was going to get bitten by that scary snake until you stop it. It was very cool, Neville said with admiration. Let's hope McGonagall also thinks it was cool. Right. You are welcome. Let's go back to sleep, shall we? He was not looking forward to the next day. In the early morning, Harry felt the gazes of the school on him as he made his way to his table in the Great Hall. How nostalgic, he thought. Harry. As soon as he sat down, he was surrounded by girls. This would usually be a good thing, but not when they are angry. What was that about? Where were you? Why did you leave like that? How did you kill the snake so easily? Yeah, can you teach me that? Can you guys slow down and ask one at a time? He requested. Then, Mr. Potter, allow me to go first. The voice of Professor McGonagall came from behind him. After you are done with your breakfast, I will need you to come to my office. I trust you know where it is. Harry nodded. Excellent. She turned around and walked away. Oh, this is not good, Harry. What if this goes on your permanent record? Hermione said with concern. Crushing a snake with one hand. I want that in my permanent record, Ron exclaimed. So, Harry. Lyra sat next to him. Is everything okay? I'm fine. Just needed some time alone. He did not want to drag this conversation, but you never came back to the dorm. We waited for you, Ginny said. He did come back. I think it was around midnight, Neville added. You were wandering around the castle until midnight, Lavender asked. Harry, that's against the rules. Hermione looked outraged. That must be why Professor McGonagall asked you to her office. That, and the snake thing. Parvati pointed out. Yeah, that was very cool. Seamus joined the conversation. Can you teach me that? I want to crush snakes like that too. Ron requested. You should have seen the face Professor Lockhart was making. He was so terrified of you. Ron chuckled. That's not funny. We were all startled by that snake. I can't believe Malfoy got away with no punishment after using a spell like that. Hermione said. I'm sure I saw Professor Snape whispering to him. He was probably the one who told him to use it. Lavender said. That wouldn't surprise me, he doesn't like Neville, Seamus said. That's because he broke most of his cauldrons. I think this was something else, Parvati commented. He doesn't like anyone from Gryffindor, to be honest, Lavender pointed. So Harry, can you teach me to kill a snake like that? Ron looked at him with interest. No, said Harry. Oh come on, don't be stingy, Ron whined. I did that without thinking. It was just a reaction to being startled by the snake, Harry explained. It wasn't completely a lie, that was just an involuntary reaction. His mind was somewhere else. Ron said with disappointment. I wish it was me then. Everyone is talking about you now. You got lucky then. That was a black mamba, a very venomous snake. Parvati had studied a lot about reptiles. It was a secret hobby of hers. Harry was smacked on the shoulder. The next time don't just run out like that. You had me worried. Lyra looked serious. I'll keep it in mind, Lyra. By the way, did something interesting happen after I left? He wanted to change the topic away from himself. Ron got excited. You won't believe it. Snape kicked Lockhart's butt in a duel. Yeah, that was the best part of the day, Seamus added. It wasn't like that, Hermione claimed. Professor Lockhart was just demonstrating how to react when you are hit by the disarming charm. By flying away and falling on his butt. I don't know, Hermione. Lavender frowned. I agree, he is not as magnificent as my mother always says. Ginny commented. Take a seat, Mr. Potter. Harry heard McGonagall say after entering her small office. He also noted the figure of Snape standing next to her desk with his usual unpleasant expression. He ignored his looks and sat down in front of Professor McGonagall. First, I would like you to clarify what happened yesterday during the dueling club, she asked. Harry gave her the same excuse he offered to his housemates. He got distracted and the snake startled him. So he reacted like that, got nervous and ran away. You expect us to believe that, Potter? You crushed that snake's head with your hands. You must have done some dark magic, maybe a ritual. Snape narrowed his eyes while looking at him. Severus, that's enough. Also, that is a very serious accusation to throw around with no evidence. Don't forget what James Potter's job is. He would not delve into that kind of magic, and I did not call Harry here for that. McGonagall reprimanded the potions professor. He must be punished, at least. He is as arrogant as his father. He leaned forward to get his face closer to Harry in an attempt of intimidation. Severus, this has nothing to do with James Potter and your rivalry with him. And let's not talk about the fact that it was you the one who instructed young Malfoy to use that spell. What were you thinking? Summoning a venomous snake in front of 100 children. That wasn't. Snape stood straight and coughed. It was not meant to be a venomous one. Draco must have done something wrong during the summoning. Regardless, she turned to look at Harry. My reason for being upset, if not about that, Mr. Potter, is for what you did after. You ran out of the classroom without saying a word. You disappeared completely, making everyone worried, and you broke the curfew when you did not return to your room before 9 p.m. What do you have to say about it? That I have no excuse for that. I just wanted to be alone for a bit. Harry could not reveal his real reason for being upset. He couldn't exactly say, well, you see, Professor, I just discovered that I may be partially responsible for the end of an entire world, and the deaths of all my loved ones. That fact will always weigh on him from now on. But he decided to continue on despite all of that because there are people here whose lives may depend on his future actions. He could not fail again. Then I have no other choice but to give you detention, said McGonagall. Leave him with me. A month of cleaning cauldrons with his bare hands will teach him some humility. Snape grinned. The usual punishment for skipping curfew is 3 detentions and 20 points loss for the house of the student, she reminded him. And so, 20 points from Gryffindor and you will have 3 detentions with Professor Lockhart since this happened during his dueling club. Harry made a disgruntled expression. I have to spend 3 detentions with that man. A month cleaning cauldrons almost seemed better. You will start your detentions this afternoon, then another one on Sunday and the last one on Monday. Be at his office at 5 p.m. Don't be late. She told him. Yes, Professor McGonagall, may I leave now? You may. He stood up and was about to leave when she spoke again. Oh, Mr. Potter, remember that you have the first Quidditch game of the year at the end of next week. There will be practice on Tuesday. Mr. Wood will contact you for more details. Be sure to be well rested and ready for it. Yes, Professor, I'll be ready. Be sure you do. I'm looking forward to seeing your first game, Harry. McGonagall gave him a warm smile. Snape maintained his usual frown. After blowing off some steam and a few dummies at the room of requirements, Harry entered the Great Hall of Hogwarts to have something for lunch. The hall was unusually full that day, and he was able to find everyone already sitting on their spots. He sat between his sister and Hermione and started eating in peace. Lyra glanced at him. What were you doing, exercise again? That was the excuse he gave Hermione last year, so he told his sister the same. Except Lyra knew more, so she may suspect his exercises involve more than just physical training. Yes, Harry answered before taking more potatoes from the tray. Harry is always disappearing to go do something, usually as exercise. Isn't that right? Commented Hermione. Yes, he did that last year also. He is going to become quite the hunk if he keeps going like this. Lavender grinned. Parvati gave Harry an evaluating stare. There is a lot of potential there. If I wasn't already engaged, I may give Mayan some competition. Stop that, Hermione exclaimed. Wait, you are already engaged? You never mentioned that. Parvati shrugged. Didn't seem important. Father made the marriage contracts for me and my sister Padma when we were still toddlers. So we have known our future husbands all our lives. We will both get married after we finish our education. But that's so wrong. You should not be forced to marry someone just like that. Hermione said. Hermione, wizard families have different customs to muggle ones. Harry told her. For muggles, this may seem barbaric and outdated, but old wizard families put a lot of value on old traditions. That's correct, Parvati said. My family is very traditionalist, and I don't dislike the fact of being engaged. Having my future already planned means that I don't have to stress myself and worry about it. I'm actually looking forward to my life after Hogwarts. But what about your career? Is there nothing in particular you want to do? Asked Hermione. If you ask my sister, she would probably tell you something else. But for me, not really. I just study enough to keep my grades decent, but there is nothing in particular I wanted to do. Parvati answered. Hermione looked at Lavender. What about you? Are you engaged too? Nope, my parents aren't that traditional, so I can date whoever I want. Well, in the future. Lavender gave her a grin. Hermione turned to the other side and glanced at Lyra and Ginny. I'm not engaged, of course. Ginny glanced at Neville for a second before looking down at her plate with a blush. Me neither. I don't know about Dad, but Mom would never allow us to be engaged this soon. She is a muggle born like you, Hermione, Lyra said. But for a while I thought they had made a contract for Harry, she added. What? Harry is engaged? Hermione and the other girls became shocked. You are engaged? With whom? Both Hermione and Parvati leaned forward while staring intensely at Harry. How did I not hear anything about this until now? Lavender looked almost offended. You did not hear my sister correctly. Harry decided to interrupt them and clear up the misunderstanding before a rumor started to circulate over the castle. Our family made a contract with another family. I cannot speak about the contents or which family was the contract made with, but it is not a marriage contract. Yes, that's what I was about to say. You didn't let me finish. Lyra tried to fix it. When I learned about it, I thought it was marriage for Harry. My bad. Oh, so it was just a misunderstanding. How boring. Lavender pouted. So Minor still has a chance. Parvati said out loud. Stop with that already. Hermione frowned. Is okay, Hermione, she was just teasing you. We know you like Professor Lockhart. Anyway, Lavender commented. I just respect the man. That's different, she quickly defended. You can't do this to me. The shout was loud enough to be clearly heard from the other side of the Great Hall, where the Slytherin table was located. What was that? Ginny was startled by the sudden shout. Looks like there is some drama over the snake nest, Lavender said with interest. That was Draco Malfoy. But who is he yelling at? Asked Parvati. I know her. That's Pansy Parkinson. Hermione looked troubled. She is not very nice, to say the least. Don't make a scene, Draco. Pansy had her arms crossed while looking down at the angry boy. Behind her were 2 boys and 1 big girl. Draco, stop embarrassing yourself, one of the boys said with a mocking grin. Don't even talk to me. Not, you traitor, Draco shouted. Or what? Are you going to tell your father? Not made an ops gesture. My bad. That's it. Draco pulled out his wand. Theodore Knott and the other boy to his side, the one called Blaise Zabini, did the same. If you want a duel, we can humor you, Draco, Zabini told him. Enough. Professor Snape was angrily walking towards the students. Put those wands away now, he shouted. Knott and Zabini quickly obeyed, but Draco was filled with too much anger. Snape had to physically take the wand away from him. Come with me. He then grabbed Draco by his arm and dragged him away from the hall. Harry noted that during this whole confrontation, neither Crabble nor Goyle got up from their seats to defend Draco. Well, that was interesting. Lavender looked static. I need to find out what was that about. It seems like Draco and his fiancée are having some trouble. You shouldn't look so happy about other people's misfortune, Hermione pointed out. Oh please, the guy is an ass to everyone, Lavender said. She is right, you know. Ron poked his head into the conversation. The guy is a twat. You think this is related to that rumor you told us on the first day? Parvati asked Lavender. I suppose it could, yes, that would make sense if you think about it, Lavender said. What rumor? What happened? Lyra asked them. You see, Lavender leaned forward and lowered the volume of her voice, but it was still loud enough for most people on the table to hear. I heard from a reputable source that the Malfoy family lost most of their fortune after the death of Lord Lucius Malfoy. How can that be? They are one of the richest families in Britain. Lyra didn't know much about those matters, but she was at least taught about the most influential wizard families in the country. There are no specifics, but apparently the former lord had most of his money invested in some illegal deals and dark artifacts. After his death, the deals were ruined and the artifacts were lost, leaving them only with a few coins in their vault. Lavender explained. So Draco is poor now? I have to taunt him about this. Ron exclaimed. Why though? We are poor too, Ginny reminded him. I wouldn't say they are poor. They still have many assets they could sell, but compared to where they were a year ago, there is a huge gap, and is not just about money, but also influence. Lucius Malfoy was the right hand of the Minister of Magic, and a member of the Board of Governors of Hogwarts. Now they lost all of that. Lavender added. That would explain why everyone seemed to have turned against him all of a sudden, said Lyra. That could also explain why he was yelling at his fiancée, Parvati said. What do you mean? Ginny asked. Lord Parkinson is one of the most politically powerful wizards of the country. A marriage between his family and the rich, influential Malfoys made sense. But now, Lavender let the words hang. He broke the marriage contract, Ginny realized. I bet that's what happened, admitted Lavender. But I'm going to want all of the details. Of course you do. Hermione gave her a judgmental look. Did you notice that his 2 usual bodyguards were not with him this time? Parvati asked. That right. Crabble and Goyle did not move from their spot at the table, Ron said. That was weird. Those 2 goons always follow him everywhere, said Seamus. Yes, those 2 families have always been close to the Malfoys, but it looks like they started to follow someone else, Harry commented while observing the Slytherin table. The 2 big guys stood from the table and followed behind Pansy Parkinson and her friends. After she started to walk away, they were treating her like some sort of queen, much different from last year. The changes in the Slytherin house could be reflecting some of the changes happening on the outside. It looks like Lord Parkinson is getting ready to step into the light. Welcome to the second game of the Hogwarts 1992 League. The cheerful voice of the commentator could be heard resounding all over the stadium, thanks to the masterful work of magical runes on the place. I am Lee Jordan, and I will be your commentator. The students started to clap and cheer. This will be Gryffindor's first game of the year, and it will be against no other than the former champion Slytherin. But do not lose hope, my friends. For this year the Gryffindor team came well prepared with a brand new and talented seeker. Now with no further delays, let's watch their entrances. The audience cheered. The first team to hit the field will be Slytherin. The green-robed team came flying into the stadium. Their own selection of the spectator boxes started to cheer while the rest remained silent. They had not become more liked since last year, and many have accused them of cheating, but the accusations never go anywhere. And now, the team that will hopefully get a win. Finally, Jordan said with hope. Jordan, keep it unbiased. I'm warning you. McGonagall was sitting right behind him. Yes, Professor, totally impartial. Anyone can win this game. But go Gryffindor. The player with the red and golden robes entered the field in a smooth flight. Captain Oliver Wood was first, followed up close by the rest of the team. And the last player in the queue was Harry Potter. That's him. There he is. Lily Potter pointed from the stands. That's my boy, James shouted. Mom, Dad, lower your voices please. Lyra was feeling somewhat embarrassed. They are flying, Holly shouted from her mother's lap. You think he is going to be okay up there? Lily asked with concern. On the other side of the field were the Slytherin stands. It is rare to see you here. I thought you had no interest in Quidditch. Pansy Parkinson was sitting in the center of the first row. Those were the best seats available. At her sides were Not and Zabini, and behind her were Daphne and Tracy. I don't have much interest, but I had nothing better to do today, Daphne said with disinterest, earning a glare from Tracy. Daphne had dragged her to the game, not taking a no for an answer, saying there was something she needed to see. What about you? Daphne returned the question. Don't have much interest either. But I thought it would be a waste, buying these seats and not using them. Pansy shrugged. Buying them? What do you mean? The seats are free for everyone, Tracy asked. You wouldn't know because you never come to see the games. Theodore Nott turned around to look at them. But the front row seats are all private, at least on the Slytherin side, is just another way to show your status. And you know who was the owner of these 3 seats? Zabini had a cruel grin on his face. I can already guess. Daphne gave Pansy a passing glance and the girl had a satisfied smile on her face. Malfoy, right? Tracy asked. Yes, Lady Malfoy took my father's first offer without question. Pansy chuckled. Can you believe that he tried to enter the team this year? He wanted to be a seeker, Theodore Nott commented. Like they would let a second year with no experience in the team. He must have been dreaming that his daddy was still on the board of governors. Zabini joked. And now he doesn't even have a place to sit and watch the games. What a loser. Nott smiled. You guys are being a bit too harsh with Malfoy, don't you think? Daphne looked at Pansy. Please. He has been a pompous ass since the day I meet him. If anyone deserves to be taken down a notch, is him. Pansy said. I know that, but still, Daphne knew Draco quite well, and how nasty of a personality he has. But she didn't like kicking someone who was already down. After how he treated me last year, he deserves at least this, trust me. Pansy told her. Daphne had no retort to that. He was awful to her last year. There was no denying that. She is right, Daphne. Don't waste your time defending that guy, and instead watch this game that you had so much interest in. Tracy's comment did not go over Pansy's head. Oh? So you did have a reason for coming here. Pansy gave Daphne an intense glance. You obviously have no interest in the game. Could it be one of the players then? Shut up, I have nothing else to say. Daphne crossed her arms and sat back down, ending the conversation right there. Pansy smiled. How interesting. Daphne gave her friend Tracy an upset look. Sorry, Tracy whispered to her friend after realizing her slip of the tongue. Meanwhile the players had all flown into their positions, and Professor Hooch was about to give the signal for the start of the game. The bludgers were released first, followed by the snitch, And finally, the quaffle was thrown in the air. Right then, Professor Hooch used a loud whistle to signal the start of the game. "Here we go," Jordan shouted on his mic. "The first game between Gryffindor and Slytherin has started. Go Gryffindor." Jordan,